Rana Campbell, your Chief Dream Driver, and welcome to the No Parking Podcast, where through conversations and discussions with creators like yourself, we'll find interesting approaches to help you take your dreams out of park, put them in drive, and ride towards success. Hey, Dream Drivers, welcome to episode 126 of the Dreams and Drive podcast. And I think that this is a record. We have had 3 solo episodes in a row. And this episode is going to be all about my journey back into time, into a teenager when I was working at a bowling alley. And I'm calling this podcast 16 Life Lessons Started from the Bowling Alley. Now I'm here. I want to switch things up this year. I definitely want to show some more of me on the show and also just give you guys a glimpse into my life, but also make it practical. I'm realizing that a lot of the reasons why a lot of you guys tune in each week is to get that motivational, that inspirational, these stories of triumph. And I just thought it would be cool to share this part of my journey with you all, because thinking back at it, there were a lot of pivotal moments in my life, and thinking about now where I am as an entrepreneur, where I am as a person, I definitely think working at a bowling alley, I think I want to say I was 16 or 17, and the lessons I learned working there were very critical to how I saw the world. But before we get into that, remember our show notes are available at dreamsanddrive.com. I do encourage you guys all to go check out the website. I want to build out the website more, but we definitely have free resources. You can go to dreamsanddrive.com/free. You can check out the show notes on all of our shows, and you can also just explore and just really see what the site has to offer. Remember, we are Dreams and Drive across the board on social, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and use the hashtag as well. I love it when you all are sharing that you're listening to these episodes on Instagram stories, especially. So if you want to share, just screenshot wherever you're listening right now, go post it on Instagram stories, tag us, post it on Twitter, post it on Facebook, send it to a friend via text, whatever. We are still doing our giveaway. As I mentioned in episode 125, we're doing a giveaway this week with Cal's daughter. Yes, the Cal's daughter. And that giveaway ends on January 8th. So if you have not already entered it, please do. We are giving away a hair milk gift set. We're actually giving away 2 hair milk gift sets. So I would love for as many people as possible to just go to dreamsanddrive.com/win, fill out the short entry form there, and you'll be automatically entered. That's dreamsanddrive.com/win. And make sure you go back and listen to episode 125, where we talk about the power of consistency, focus, and vision in 2018. So let me put this episode into perspective for you guys. So, I never liked not having money. I think as a kid, although my parents were very strict and very budget conscious, I liked the idea of money. And I remember when I was younger, I was like, I never want to be broke. And it became a point where my parents weren't giving me enough spending money, weren't giving me enough allowance. I think at 16, you can get your working papers, and maybe it's before that, but I was able to get my working papers. And I remember that I needed a job. It was the summer. I wasn't doing any more summer programs like I normally did. And my parents were like, you need to get a job or do something. And I didn't know what to do, but I ended up working at a bowling alley. And I'll get into how I got that bowling alley job a little bit later. So but basically, I want to just tell you that I think I worked at the bowling alley my junior year summer. So the summer of junior year. So I had to be 17, and my senior year in high school. And the bowling alley was Eagle Rock Bowling Lane. So if you're from New Jersey, you probably know where that is, in West Orange, New Jersey, right there in Eagle Rock. And I worked there, and I worked the front desk and other miscellaneous jobs. I got paid minimum wage or whatever, but there was just critical things. And I think about like my intro to the real world, when I think about my intro to having a real quote unquote job and getting paid, payroll, all that stuff. Like I think of the bowling alley. It's a place in my mind that I still remember how it smells, right? Like mashed up birthday cake with baby sweat. Like, I don't know. It was just this weird smell in there. And, I think if I ever had a movie about my life, there definitely has to be me working at a bowling alley scene. I remember I had little cute shirts. I think I'm going to try, you know what? I'm going to make the profile, the promo pic for this, basically one of my bowling alley pictures, just to make it funny. But anyway, I wanted to share some lessons that I learned working at the bowling alley. And I'm not exactly sure if I learned these lessons while it was happening, or if it was stuff that I learned afterwards and then thought about where I learned it from and had to go back to the bowling alley. So I'm just going to share these life lessons. This is going to be a real chill podcast. No need to take notes, but if you want to, you definitely can. And I think for everyone listening in, think about what's your bowling alley place. There's so many moments in our lives, so many places in our lives where we can learn things. And I think we're constantly learning. We're constantly learning about ourselves. We're constantly learning about our capabilities, our potential, but sometimes it happens at very specific moments in our life. So I'm so excited to share those moments with you guys. So let's get into it. So the first lesson was, number 1, opportunity comes where you make it. Now, I got this job at the bowling alley because my parents were like, you need to find a job. And I remember it was June and I didn't know how to find a job. So I picked up the phone book and I just opened it up and I just started scrolling. I remember scrolling through A's and saying, hey, somebody must need to call me, must need a job. And I remember thinking, if I get the phone book, I'll find somewhere that's hiring. I remember going to B and then seeing bowling alley, then seeing Eagle Rock bowling lanes. And I was like, that seems all right. And I really just called up the bowling alley and I said, hey, are you hiring? And I remember Joe was my boss. He was like, yeah, how old are you? And I told him how old I was. He was like, do you have working papers? I was like, yep, I do. And he said, okay, come up today. And I remember asking my mom to drive me or asking to borrow the car or something and driving up the hill to the bowling alley. And we had the shortest interview and he hired me. And he was like, you're going to start after July 4th. And I said, okay. And that was it. So opportunity really comes where you make it. And if there's no door, you have to make one. And for me, I don't even know if he was actively hiring, but the fact that I asked him if he was hiring and I just picked up the phone book and started hustling, trying to find a job, it instilled in me at that young age that if you're willing to put in the work and hustle and advocate for yourself, you will get results eventually. I guess I was just kind of lucky that it happened in a day for me. So number 2, service is key. Learn to serve. So I remember I got put on the front desk and I couldn't even work the cash register because they were like, oh, you're too young to be working with money or whatever. And I literally had to just give people their bowling shoes and collect the bowling shoes. And I'm like, what is this? I had to ask people their size, and the people didn't know their sizes. People were saying, oh, the shoes weren't working, they needed new shoes. But in that service, I think it's so important that we all have jobs where we have to learn to serve, because you learn that if you become good at customer service and providing, I'll try to be the best darn shoe giver person ever, right? Because that's so integral to the overall business. Because if you can't keep your bowling alley shoe line going, if you don't know where the shoes go, if you don't memorize where the different, where 9s are kept, where kids size 2s are kept, and you're not able to develop and keep that flow going, you'll have a hold up at the front of your bowling alley, which is not good. So that was something I had to learn very early on. Learn how to serve, learn how to figure out what your job is and become really good at it. Number 3, be helpful and they will never forget you. That goes along with serving. You need to be extremely, extremely helpful. And I think the most important part is people remember you. People remember you because you helped them. I remember people will always tell Joe, my manager, oh, Rana, she was so good, because they had a lot of summer camps that would come in the summer and a lot of birthday parties. And I always wanted my reputation to be one that people had something positive to say, especially to my boss, especially to my peers, and my coworkers. I didn't want my name to be associated with something bad. So I definitely learned to be as helpful as possible. And even when people got on my nerves, because let me tell you, people got on my nerves all the time, I just had to really remember, how can you be helpful even in this moment when they're mad at you? How can you be helpful even when, this birthday party room isn't ready for your guests to go and they booked this party 2 months in advance? Learn how to be helpful, and that can help you navigate a lot of situations. All right, number 4, everyone has a story. I remember, and I still wonder what happened to Tim. Tim the Man from, it's funny because I think he was like 20 and I was like 17, but I thought he was so old and so experienced. And he was just this crazy guy that I worked with. And he used to just tell me the wildest stories about like what he would do for his free time and how, you know, he like all this crazy stuff. And I used to be so enthralled and so amazed by his stories. And I just realized at that moment working at the bowling alley, and I mean, I probably knew this from before then, but I'm just trying to give you the context of this place, is I started to really become invested in learning what people's stories were. I remember like basically having interviews with coworkers while we were just waiting for people at the desk, you know, just learning things about people, learning about their motivations, learning about why was Brandon, who wanted to be the next usher, how did he end up at the bowling alley? You know, how did Joe, the manager, you know, end up working at a bowling alley out of all places? And that was just something that I want you guys to remember as you go through the year and really think about relationships and think about what can you learn from anything that you're experiencing. Is everyone has a story, and sometimes when we prioritize being story seekers, we can learn a lot about ourselves and about the world and just about how relationships work, and that all applies to businesses as well. Number 5, talking about coworkers, not everyone's love is real. Beware. So I think I mentioned Brandon, like the guy who wanted to be the next usher. I remember he had a little crush on me, and maybe I had a crush on him. I don't know. But I was just like, so like, oh my God, Brandon, he's so cute and all this stuff. And then I realized, you know, he had a baby mama, he had a kid, and I had to learn very early on, Raina, just because someone is sweet talking you does not mean they want you. I was still a teenager or whatever, but it's just one of those stories that you still have to, although you may become obsessed and learn and be very interested in people's stories, still beware of what people's real intentions were. And I had to learn that early on. Maybe that was like one of my first baby heartbreaks. It was like, Brandon don't want you. Brandon got a kid. Brandon got, you know, a baby mama, whatever it was. But I just think that's something that's very, very important. While you're learning lessons, you also need to be very aware of snakes that are around you, people that may not necessarily always have your best intentions in mind. Number 6, relationships and community run the world. Now, Saturday nights at the bowling alley, I don't know if it's still like this, but this was when leagues were in. Oh my God, it was a different place. Bowling alley leagues in West Orange, New Jersey on Saturday nights it was the spot. And there was just this large community around these bowlers. Like I was never a bowler. I don't even think I went to the bowling alley before working at the Eagle Rock Lanes. I just remember that these league people, they would take these games, you know, each Saturday at 7:00, whatever time, they took it so seriously. You could not tell anyone that being a bowler in the league was not the best thing you could ever do in your life. And it just makes me realize how strong communities, how strong being in your niche is. So if you are somebody out here who is really wondering, like, you know, I'm very niche, I have this very particular interest, like, is it important? Let me tell you, find your tribe, because that tribe, if you can get enough people together, will be loyal to the cause, loyal to the mission. Eagle Rock Lanes made so much money every Saturday night because people were crazy for bowling and were crazy for the competition, crazy for the leagues. You know, it was a place for them to really, really just be themselves and be around other people. So your tribe is important. Relationships run the world, because it's just so funny. There were people that I saw at that bowling league that I had seen in other parts of my life, like people who were teachers in Orange who used to bowl. You know, there were just so many different communities there, and they were all so invested. And I love seeing people in their zone. And that's when I realized relationships really do run the world. So number 7, what people believe they'll do. Belief in something is contagious. And I used to be so baffled by why people love the lottery. I couldn't touch the lottery machine anyway because I was underage. I just think they didn't want me touching money there. But I just used to ask people, like, why are you always buying so many lottery tickets? And I used to try to convince this one guy, like, give me that money. Don't play the lottery. He would spend like $50, $60 on lottery every Saturday. And he was like, you know what? I play it every week because I'm going to get the money back eventually. And he believed that. And I personally don't believe in playing the lottery. So no knocks to anyone who does. But I was just like, what? Like, you really, really believe in this, and you cannot tell him anything. He would not stop. I tried to convince him. I don't know why I thought I could convince him, but he was so gung-ho about winning his money back and more from the lottery. So imagine that. If you can believe in something like, such as the lottery, what if you believed in yourself? What if your belief in yourself was so contagious, nobody could break it? What if your belief in something was so huge, no one could break it? And that made me really think about, like, wow, if I could believe in something that much, just think of how much you would get done. Like, think about how much he probably invested in playing in the lottery. And what if I believed in something so much I was willing to invest every week just for the chance, just for the shot, just for that hope of being successful? And that's what we're doing with our dreams as dream drivers. We're believing in ourselves so much that we are investing each week in this idea, this dream. And we don't know what the outcome will be, but we know we will see some sort of return on it. And that was just something that, thinking back about that guy at the bowling alley, I was just like, wow, he really, really did believe in the lottery tickets. And when I was there, he never won any money, but that's another story for another day. Number 8, hustle runs the world. When, I worked at the bowling alley, like maybe for like a year and a half or whatever. There were so many different people who took over the cafe. So the cafe, they had the place, a little like a cafe area where you could order different things. And it was separate from the bowling alley, so it wasn't run by the same people. But I remember, I think the second guy who took over it, like, he used to hustle in that cafeteria all the time, like catering to what, the leaguers wanted. And he would like have special menus for them and do all this stuff. And it just made me realize, like, hustle really runs the world. And if you want to succeed, you have to be willing to pivot. You have to be willing to cater to the needs of your audience. And I just was so, I was so inspired by what he did there, because I remember the guy who was there before him wasn't as successful. But if you want something, you have to be willing to hustle for it and to make yourself a success. And that's just a very vivid memory I have of working at the bowling alley. Number 9, when you're not the boss, you always have rules to adhere to. And it's funny because Joe was my manager, but he wasn't the boss. The boss was like the people who owned, like, I forgot what the name of the company that owns that bowling alley and other bowling alleys in New Jersey. I remember he used to be so frustrated. Like, sometimes they would pop up and, he would do surprise visits and audits and always have something to say. And Joe was just always stressed out, and he didn't own the bowling alley. And I always remember him talking about how he wanted to have his own bowling alley. I think this is what he said. I might be having false memories here, but I'm just going to say for the story, that's what he used to have these dreams of, but he didn't own that bowling alley. So he was a manager of all of us, but he wasn't the boss. And that just made me think about, power dynamics. And not everyone's meant not to be the boss, or not everyone has a role. Everyone has a role to play. And that was just something that I learned. I don't think that we're not always going to be the boss, but we have to know our role. And you have to ask yourself, at this role that you're currently at, is this where you truly see yourself? Is this truly what you want to be? And I knew Joe didn't want to be the manager. He probably had some other dreams. And that's just something that I noticed from that age. Number 10, making the sale is always about providing value. You had to be a hustler. So one of the things that I learned is how to sell specials, right? So I think like you used to how bowling alley pricing was, you pay for your shoes, you pay per game. But during the summer we had specials where you can get 3 games and shoes at like a flat rate or whatever. And people would come in and, they would try to just buy 2 games and pair of shoes, and they would always come up and buy more. And I used to learn how to say, you know what? Let me help you from right now. You can get 3 games in a rental for this price. And they would be so happy because I was helping to provide value, right? So it's like, learn how to provide value. Whenever you're trying to make a sale, always think about, how is this going to help this person get something, either save money, solve a problem, or something like that, and present it to them in that way. And they'll forever, as I said, when you are helpful, people will remember you. People will like that you helped save them money, right? People will like that you didn't let them buy 5 games when they could have got 3 for the price of, people really do appreciate that. And I had to just learn about sales, like sales, how to please this customer, but also, help on our end, help make sure we were meeting our daily quota of whatever it was that we had, goals from Joe or whatever. So I think it also helped me learn that sometimes you need to have a deal that people cannot deny. Sometimes you need to package things in a way that is just something they have to say yes to, right? Like, which sounds better? 1 game and 1 rental, or 3 prices, or 3 games for the price of 1, right? So that's just something that I learned from the bowling alley. It was just a tactic we used to use. And I think about it now that you have to provide options, because some people like that package deal, and some people will be like, oh, it's okay, I'm just going to do 2 games, I'm not going to buy 3. But then they always come back and buy the 3rd one, but you can't, hey, you missed the deal. So it was just something now thinking about. I used to love being able to offer deals, and people would light up, and, some people's dates would be like, oh my God, now we could be here for 3 more. Now we could get 2 more games. It was just really funny. Okay. So the next lesson I have is, people aren't perfect, so don't be surprised. So there was a lady who went to church or Kingdom Hall with us, and her husband was the bowling alley. And whenever he came to the bowling alley, he was never with his wife. He was always with this other woman, and he didn't think I was there. And I never actually, we never communicated, but it was just always awkward for me. Like, this man that I saw every week, and when I saw him at the bowling alley, he was with a different person. And maybe the act they had on Sundays was a facade, like maybe it wasn't real, right? But it just made me realize that people aren't always who they say they are, and people aren't perfect. You can't always judge, and you can't be surprised. And it was just a blunt reality, like, wow, like, this guy could potentially be cheating on his wife. I don't know what their situation was, but it was just something that really made me open up my eyes to a lot of things as a teenager. Number 12, needing bumpers doesn't make you weak. I had to put the bumpers on lanes for a plenty of grown men and women. And it doesn't make you weak if you need help. It doesn't make you weak if you don't want your ball to fall in the gutter, so you get bumpers. It's really okay. Bumpers aren't only for kids. So if you need help, don't be afraid to ask for help, because if you don't ask, you're just going to struggle, and your ball's going to go in the gutter, and you're never going to get that perfect 10 like you want. And if you want to have success, sometimes you need a guide. Sometimes you need something to bang into and bounce off of. So just remember that, okay? Number 13, become the best at what you do no matter what. Whatever my job was, and this was like very early on when I was very motivated, and I think I just liked the whole idea of working at the bowling alley. I was the best darn birthday party person ever. I was the best darn bottle picker-upper from the bar ever. I was the best darn shoe sprayer ever. I just, at that point in my career, and I'm going to call it a career, yes, working at the bowling alley, I just was so intrigued on how things work, and I wanted to do a good job. And I'm also like, when you were a good birthday party person, you got tipped better. Like, when you were helpful, you got tipped better. People would slip me money for, like, taking up their bottles or whatever. So I had to just learn that about life, and just the transaction part. When you provide a good service, people will not deny that your product is good, and you will get more customers. When I was actively helping kids during birthday parties and talking to the parents and bringing out the cake before they asked me, they saw that, and it went recognized, and I do appreciate that. Number 14, sometimes you got to know when it's time to move on. And I think I wanted to stay at the bowling alley for way much longer than I was supposed to. I remember them trying to talk to me like, Raina, you can't work here anymore. Like you're about to be going to Princeton. Like it's time for you to, you can't come back here next summer. And things were changing, and I had to be okay with them basically saying, all right, this part of your journey is over. And there's no knock to anybody who goes back and works at their high school jobs during the summer or anything like that. But I just had to know when it was time to move on and know the stories that I met. And I just remembered something, that I met this guy who worked there. His story was really, I forgot his name, but basically he lost his job. He was this very smart man, and he went to Cooper's Union. He was like very, very smart, and he lost his job and he had to work in the bowling alley for a few months. And I remember it being a very humbling moment for him, and him just telling me, like, you never know what's going to happen to you in life. Here I am, a college educated. I think he had a doctorate or something, and he was there working in the bowling alley just to help support his family. And it made me think, wow, you can never be too low for something. Like, if push comes to shove and I had to work in a bowling alley again to survive for myself or to provide for myself, I definitely would, right? And I think that's the next tip, number 15, is, learn from everyone. Everyone I worked with, I learned from something. And even though the bowling alley, I wasn't making the most money, it probably wasn't the most ideal job, it was a part of my journey that definitely helped me. And even if you're at a job right now and you want to be an entrepreneur full time, if you want to have your own business one day, but you're not quite ready for it yet, learn as much as you can from where you are. Even if the jobs you hate, you can learn to love a job you hate by learning to learn by focusing on learning something new every day. There's so much that we can learn. I always will go back to just what my parents taught me, that you cannot ever be bored if you have a brain. And if we are able to shift our mindsets in situations that may not be the best, there's so much momentum that we can build from that. And then lastly, number 16 is, when people see something in you, stop denying it. I remember working at the bowling alley, and the leaguers would come up to me and just, mention things about me and ask me, what did I want to study? What did I want to do? And even Joe, my boss, used to say very encouraging things to me when I got accepted to Princeton. They were also excited for me, and they said, your future is bright. And I could have been like, no, it's not. But I learned, and I'm still learning, is when people see something in you, they see it for a reason. And if a lot of people are telling you the same thing about yourself, stop denying it. Stop denying it, because there's so much power in when we do not deny our purpose and our calling and what other people are seeing in us and what other people can see us manifesting in our lives. Like, stop denying it, guys, and think about your own bowling alleys in your life. I encourage everyone to take a place, take a moment, take something you hated, an experience you hated, and just really try to think about, but what did I learn? And if you focus on that, there's so much that will come from your life. So I hope you guys enjoyed these mini life lessons. I'm going to go through them very quickly again, and hopefully they ring a bell. Remember, opportunity comes where you make it. Service is key. Learn to serve. Be helpful, and they will never forget you. Number 4, everyone has a story. Not everyone's love is real, so beware. Number 6, relationships and community run the world. Number 7, what people believe they'll do. Belief in yourself is contagious. Hustle runs the world. Number 9, when you're not the boss, you always have rules, and you still have rules even when you are the boss. 10, making the sale is about providing value. People aren't perfect, so don't be surprised. Number 12, needing bumpers does not make you weak. 13, become the best at what you do no matter what. 14, know when it's time to move on. Learn from everyone. And finally, number 16, when people see something in you, stop denying it. If you're listening to this show right now, you see something in yourself. So sometimes that person can be you. You might see something in yourself. Stop denying that innate feeling you feel, that gut feeling you feel about something in your life, about something. Like, stop denying it. I'm telling you, there's so much power in not denying, and there's so much power in just putting your all into making that dream ignite within yourself. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Remember, there's show notes available at dreamsanddrive.com. Please enter our giveaway of the week. It ends January 8th. We'll be giving away 2 hair milk gift sets from Carol's daughter. So hopefully you guys can go in and enter that. Just go to dreamsanddrive.com/win. That's dreamsanddrive.com/win. So I want to take some time to do a review of the week. I love it when you guys are leaving reviews. As always, remember, if you're not subscribed to us already, wherever you're listening, whether that be SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeart, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, but Apple Podcasts especially, make sure you guys are subscribed. I love it when you guys are leaving reviews. And in the past week or so, we've had a bunch of new reviews, and I'm going to read one that really touched me. And I think this speaks to back what I said in episode 125 or 124 about how you never know who's being inspired by what you do. This is coming from Co. This is coming from Co. I found this podcast a few months ago in an article on Levo. It got me so pumped. It's so inspiring to hear Rana interview people every week and giving her insight on how to put your dreams in drive. I was unemployed for almost a whole year and felt lost. The podcast was one of the many God-given tools that helped me get through it. Now I've launched a community project to collect feminine hygiene products for trafficked and homeless women while educating the community about homelessness, domestic violence, and human trafficking. It's called Project Overflow. I also have a job now. Thank you, Rana. Don't stop. Stay motivated. You're changing the world. And I posted that on my Instagram today, and I was just like, wow, like, you never know who's being inspired by what you do. I'm going to keep saying that to you guys. It's the beginning of the year, but I need you guys to keep that momentum going. Like you, whatever you're building is to help somebody. Whatever you're building is helping someone right now, and you may not know it. So you can't give up on yourself, and you can't give up on them, because they really need you. Someone out there needs what you're saying, and I just want you guys all to remember that. So our episode 127 is going to be with Maddie James, and we're going to be talking all about discipline systems and processes and just how to be in it for the long run. So definitely get excited for Monday's episode. And we're only doing one episode next week because I think that one's really good. So there's a lot of content that I want you guys to pull from that. And after that, our next guest is going to be Sarah Kunst. So be ready to hear from a Black woman who is also a VC. So that'd be really cool. Lastly, I want to remind anyone who may be interested, I am doing podcast coaching sessions. So it's 60-minute sessions where we'll go through some problems you may be having with your podcast. You get a full episode audit with that as well as actionable tips that you can implement from that. So if you're interested in learning more about a podcast coaching session with me, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/session. That's dreamsanddrive.com/session. And please, guys, I know I mentioned this on the onset, but I love it when you guys share this. So if you enjoyed this episode, I know it's a little of a departure from a normal episode. I'm really trying to switch things up this year and give you guys some more varied perspectives. Please share this with a friend. Screenshot it, post it to Instagram stories, post it on Twitter, post it on Facebook, wherever. We are Dreams in Drive across the board. And you can also use the hashtag Dreams in Drive as well. Thank you for rocking with me for episode 126. Keep dreaming, keep driving, and we'll chat again soon. Bye, guys.